Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Spiritist Conversations. You know the drill. This is a show where we get together with friends to talk about the world through a Spiritist lens in an informal, unscripted, and unplugged way. As you know, we are broadcasting live to Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching now, thank you very much. We'll be able to see your comments. Just pop them in. We also want to make sure you know that we are only going to see your comments if you are on the Spiritist Conversations Facebook page, because sometimes it gets shared to different places and you might type your comment in there, but we won't be able to see it in the feed. So apologies for that. And do join us on our page if you're there. Say hello. And if you're just listening to us via podcast, we should tell you that we are very grateful that you're listening to us, as pun intended. But that there's also a video piece that you can find on Facebook, on YouTube. So today's topic, episode 28, we're calling this one Grateful for Gratitude, just because it sounded snazzy enough. And I love playing with those titles. Let's just be honest, right? And we don't have a script here. We just have a chance to talk to these wonderful folks that you see here on your screen if you're watching with us. We have our very own Flavio Zanetti and our very own Susana Simões, two folks without which we cannot do this show. So guys, great to see you. How are you guys doing?
We are doing good. I'm doing good here in Miami. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm so grateful to be here today. I don't know why. That seems to be like the prevalent feeling.
I like what you did there, Susanna. Good job.
Yeah, same here. Very grateful for the opportunity to spend some time, even though virtually, with some dear and esteemed friends, and to what's going to be another, great episode of Spiritist Conversations.
Great. And Susanna, this topic came from you. You said we should do something about gratitude, I should say. Tell us a little bit why you think is such an important topic for us to talk about today.
I didn't even remember that anymore, but if you say so, I will take your word for it.
Look at you, you're so brilliant.
So anyway, I just love the topic. I think that personal experience, gratitude is a feeling that I am in touch with. And I think that it is deeply, deeply connected to one's ability to be happy, no matter what. And it also, it's very closely associated to also, in my understanding, our ability to understand life for what it is. And it is an expression of our connection and trust in God and the abundance that life offers us at all times. So I usually wake up grateful for every new day. So it's a very, very wonderful feeling to have. So I thought that would be worthwhile an episode about gratitude.
I like it. I like it. I wanted to throw something else out there. If you look at Joanna the Angelus, she says that, I quote, gratitude is the signature of God onto his works, right? So when you look at that, and by the way, Ivan, so great to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. So when you look at what gratitude is, right? It's God's signature onto his works, which is all of us, right? We're all part of his works. Such a great description, right, of the gratitude so far. So I'm with you.
Ooh,
every time I wake up, I say thanks to yet another day, yet another opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life, and I think it's a great habit, right?
Yeah, and it's awesome that you say that, Flavio, because I feel that more and more, like the more I feel like I mature, I become more grateful for things, right? So I'm really glad that we're talking about this, especially in the time that has been so hard for our world, right? We all have gone through so much. And sometimes I feel people maybe take on this idea that they cannot be grateful for things because there's other people suffering and there's other things happening. But I am finding that both of them are possible at the same time. You can have empathy, compassion, and even feel pain and still be grateful at the same time. So I hope that we can dive a little bit later on into that too, because sometimes it seems like it's all about doom and gloom, but it really isn't. There's always a reason to be grateful for, right? I'm very grateful for both of you guys being here today.
Yeah.
Don't go that far though.
You talk about maturity.
Okay, I'm grateful for Susanna being here today.
There you go. That's more like it.
There you go. So you talk about maturity. I'm very excited to hear that you're growing up. That's good news. And
Finally.
Kristen is putting there the psychology of gratitude, which I have right here on my hand. And in the very, very first chapter, she does talk about it. Exactly. She makes this correlation between the feeling of gratitude and the maturity of the being, which is, it's a being that is capable of appreciating life for what it is. With when we are kids, when we are toddlers, we want things the way we want, and if we don't get it, we get very, very upset. We throw ourselves on the floor. We put on a good tantrum. As you grow, you start to understand that you can't have everything, that life is not going to go always your way. And then there are moments where you even learn that what you thought to be a loss in a certain moment, something that you couldn't comprehend, later on you realize that, surprise, surprise, life was actually working for your betterment or had something even better in store for you. So you learn to appreciate, everything that comes your way. And so it is very, associated with maturity.
Yeah, it's great that you say that, because I really admire the spirit Joanna De Angelis, where this comes from. And, we should actually do an episode on who is Joanna De Angelis in the future, because I think that would be great for folks who may not be familiar with her to know about all her work and everything else. But the reason I said that, Susanna, is for the very reason. I also have the very book that you're holding. Hold it up again if you can, Psychology of Gratitude. But I'm moving, people, so everything's packed. I was looking for my book and I could not find it. But I wanted to share, because there's also, it might be the same sentence, Susanna, that I saw. And it was great because she says that, we should be grateful in every second of our physical existence. And that gratitude is a sign of psychological maturing, right? And I thought long and hard when I first read that sentence, because I thought that it really applied to me, but I didn't know that yet. Like when sometimes you go through a process, but you can't see it until you stop to reflect on it, right? And I start thinking about it, and I say, you know what? Gratitude makes a lot of sense, because what is gratitude, right? Gratitude comes from the verb, like the Latin word gratia, right? To be gracious, graciousness, grateful in general. And it's really cool because this gratefulness, when you're thankful for somebody or something, you're at least partially acknowledging that your happiness or your situation is partially due to something outside of yourself, right? There is something out there into the universe, whether you call it God or whatever you have to, for which you have to be thankful for. So this exercise of coming out of oneself and being able to look at life and understand that there's more than just yourself in life, that you should think about your perspective, really touches me, because I think that's kind of like our journey in this life, right? It's to understand that it's not just about me. And so I got things to be grateful, because there's something out there as well. And there's you guys, and my life could be very different. And I'm grateful for what I have, right? So I really like that book. Maybe you guys are down for that. Maybe we should do another episode one of these days on Joanna De Angelis. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and we have some information about some of her lives that we can also talk about. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna bring that. Of course we don't plan this for folks that follow us, right? We don't,
There are folks that follow us, Flavio?
Well, some folks.
The three of them?
Folks. Maybe 5 or 6 on a given day, on a holiday, right? Yeah, for those folks that eventually will listen to us, right? They know that we don't usually plan for this. But I want to say something, because last night I was reading a book, and I mean, I know it's a little corny, it's a bit quirky and all that, but it's called The Spiritual Dimension of Leadership. And I only have the online version, right? You can see here. And I got a quote here that I wanted to read for you guys, right? And it goes like this, right? So if I can find it. Lacking gratitude, even those who have much may experience life as empty and sterile, because they don't appreciate what they have. Gratitude is a magic word, the open sesame of life. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh, hang on a second. We're talking about gratitude tomorrow." So yeah. I gotta bring this code up, right? So, as a coincidence that there's no such thing as coincidence. It just came to me, right? That without gratitude, life is sterile. There's no meaning, right? Mm-hmm. And this author talks about it, and I believe, again, I truly believe that Joanna says the same thing in slightly different words, that life without gratitude, right, is sterile and lacks meaning. Do you guys agree with that statement?
I'm thinking about it. I think I kind of do, right? Hi, Leandra. Good afternoon. I think I kind of do. I think that is harder. I think you can arrive at meaning without going to gratitude. But I think it sure makes the meaning making process easier. Again, maybe because for me, meaning has a lot to do with recognizing the other outside of myself, right? Or maybe I should say, meaning for me has a lot to do with recognizing my place in a larger scheme of things, right? That I am one part of this beautiful machinery that we call the cosmos, versus thinking that I am the pivotal point in the whole universe, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's a great point. I definitely think that gratitude, I definitely think, I don't know. So what comes first, meaning or gratitude, right? Are you grateful because you start to find your meaning, or are you finding your meaning because you're becoming grateful? Right?
That's a chicken and egg. That's a chicken and egg.
I know.
Totally. I know. We're not going to get to the bottom of this at all.
I think as long as at some point you have both of them, you have the best of the worlds. It's funny because I'm going to make a little advertisement of a very humble initiative, which I started doing in English and in Portuguese every morning, 5 minutes of pills of trust and pills of hope, right? So pills of trust in English and pills of hope in Portuguese that I make available on my YouTube channel and Instagram.
I'm sorry, Susana. Well, what is your YouTube channel? How can we find your YouTube channel?
Susana Simões 70, ó, me mixing Portuguese with English. But in any case, the lesson today was gratitude.
Mm-hmm. So, look at that.
Yeah, so very, very funny. And the Spirit Dias da Cruz, who brings the message in this little book, speaks precisely of what you both were talking about, which is related to understanding the essence, the meaning of life, and understanding that there is an abundance of resources. They're always available in the universe to all of us. And I really like what Joanna does in the beginning of the book, because a lot of people relate gratitude to, okay, you do this for me, I'm grateful, right? So mm-hmm. It's kind of an exchange, right? So, and in the sense that we are talking about here, it goes beyond these like, I'm grateful because you did this for me, I'm grateful because you're giving me this. It's not dependent on what others are doing. It's it's a much more profound sentiment that is based and built upon, I think, some sort of meaning. Where is the meaning of life? Where is the recognition of other? but in some way and somehow you recognize that there is something bigger, and that deep inside, there is a greater force that provides, that takes care of us, that gives us everything that we need, and so this abundance is available to all of us. And so if you have a sense of that in any way, shape, or form, or any proportion, then you can tap into this state of gratitude. I think so.
I like that. I like that because one of the things that make a lot of sense to me in what you're speaking, and it kind of spoke to my heart, is the mindset piece, right? Because so it's like, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full, right?
Right.
I think that if you always in the glass half empty mode, then you're always worried about what is it that you don't have. And I kind of equate that to a little bit of a selfish mode, right? You're always trying to find what is it that you want that you don't have, right? Because you want more. You always want more, or you're missing that point. But when you're able to see that which you have, which I think is a lot harder, even for me too, right? You start to realize that you are not on the just for me mode, right? You understanding like, wow, I have these things, and if you stop to think about it, there are other people who may not have these things. Sure, your life could always be much better, right, from a material perspective,
sure,
but it could also be a much worse too, right? And so I am grateful for that which I have, because I recognize this outer force that you were speaking to, Susanna, that knows kind of better and has kind of put me in this road, right? And there is a reason why I am in this road, because it's the best road for me right now to learn something, right? So I really like that piece, and I think it has a lot to do with the mindset, and which I really have been thinking quite a bit about, is making sure that I am in this growth mindset mode, right?
I have had a chance in my work. I work with elderly individuals, very frail individuals, and individuals who have limitations such as being a wheelchair-bound person, or who are experiencing pain in many levels. Sometimes we have a little pain here and there and we are miserable, but we talk about people who have like arthritis in the entire body, they can barely walk. And I have had an opportunity to run into, funny enough, the ones that come to mind were women. I'm not sure why, but a few patients who I would ask them, how are you doing? And thinking that, they're going to say, I'm not well or whatever. And they look at me with a big smile and say, I am grateful because the Lord provides me everything that I have. And they go and they tap right into their faith. You know what I mean? And I have everything that I need. And, everything that I want, the Lord gives me. And it's just like, when I hear that, I just, sometimes I finish my assessment or my treatment, and I will, if I have time, I will say, can I sit next to you? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And it's just like so sweet to sit next to someone with this energy, who perhaps in a very fast and quick look, you would say, my goodness, this person, doesn't have because all the people that we attend to are low-income individuals, so are definitely people who are struggling materially, and on top of that, they have all the comorbidities and all the limitations, and yet it's just like, I literally, one time I walked one lady and I said, do you mind if I record your words? And because I want to hear that again, you know what I mean? So you think like you were doing something for someone, and I was being the great beneficiary of being next to them and learning from them, Anyway.
So how do we tackle the question that we have here? Daniel Santos, our friend from Baltimore, asking us, right? How
First
to be
of all,
grateful
hi, Daniel.
when suffering strikes.
Yeah. First of all, hi, Daniel. And also, how illustrious of us to be called a panel.
Yeah.
I feel very, very elegant right now.
That's another stretch, but I won't even go there.
I know. Thanks for holding back, Flavio. But this question that Daniel brings, clearly his parents have great taste. Look how they have named him. So clearly he's a brilliant individual. But because every Daniel should be lauded for their gratefulness.
Sure.
But so I think this is a really great thing that I feel like we might be knocking at the door of, right? I think we all know that we need to be grateful, and that it's a good thing to be grateful. The question is how to do it and why, right? For me, why and how. And I think that the how to be grateful for me has to do a lot with the zooming out piece again that Susanna was speaking to. I feel like these people that Susanna were describing, apparently, right, from one perspective, could be construed as people who should not be grateful at all because they are facing tough moments. Yet they are very grateful. And at the same time, we can also see people who should be very grateful for what they have, right? And yet they're not happy. So we can clearly see that happiness is not an external thing, right? It's not about what you have or what you don't have. It's about what you make of what you have and what you don't have. Because you can be very unhappy having everything that you ever wanted to. There's people with fame, money, right, looks, and they're unhappy. And there's people who have none of that and they're happy. So it's got to be about our perception. And I think gratefulness goes with it. So when pain strikes, I think for me, maybe because I work that way, and I would love to hear from you guys, I need to understand things. When I understand them, I can cope much better, right? So what Spiritism has given me, which has really helped me, is the zoom out ability to understand that the moment that I'm in, it's temporary, that I'm an immortal spirit that is going through some challenges in this life, and that these challenges are planned, and they're all under control because they're going to help me grow in the long run, right? So when I bring that into the mix, my pain may still be the same, but my suffering decreases. Does that make sense? Right? Like I might still feel the pain, but how I deal with the pain, my suffering, it really, really, really diminishes. So when I'm suffering, I am beginning to be grateful for the challenges that I have. And I think that's a great improvement for me, right? And that's because I'm able to see that there's a spiritual component, that this is Dan, there's physical Dan and there's spiritual Dan, right? Dan, the spirit, is beginning to awaken and understand that this is just a process. And I'm trying to think less with Dan, the material body perspective, and more with Dan, the spirit perspective, right? So for me, it helps.
So hang on.
How do you guys face it?
Hang on. One Dan's already enough. Now you're telling us there are 2 Dans?
Well, there were 3 with Daniel Santos. Yeah.
So for the folks that just joined us, can you maybe double click on that, Dan, a little bit more, right? The spiritual Dan versus the physical Dan. There's no confusion left. Those folks that just joined us, please.
Yeah. So I was talking about shifting the way I look at the world and life to encompass everything through a spiritual optic, right? So when I think of myself as a reincarnating spirit that is temporarily here in this life, and that has a set of challenges and learnings that I need to do, it makes it easier for me, right, to deal with the challenges I have than just thinking about it from a material perspective when I forget that I'm an immortal spirit. When I am just trapped in the day-to-day, when I'm just trying to make ends meet or do something better or get a bigger home or what have you, right? When I get trapped in that mindset and I forget my true essence, I feel the pain more easily because it's easier for me to fall into my own ego, into my own suffering, into what is it that I don't have and that I want, right? I forget a little bit that there are other people out there, right? It's easier for me to forget about that. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I have a very similar experience. I have also matured some, believe it or not. And I have come to a place of appreciation in my life when I am actually in pain, because I have come to understand that whenever I am in pain, there lies an opportunity for growth and enlightenment. Today I understand that pain is a warning sign within, bringing to my attention an area of myself that needs to be attended to, that needs to be cared for. I am much less reluctant to deal with pain. I have come to a place where I actually really, it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not wishing pain upon myself. I'm not seeking for pain. But when it strikes, I know it's an opportunity, and I actually appreciate, because I'm capable of feeling and getting in touch with the inner work that I'm doing through that pain. I'm grateful for what the pain is it's bringing to the surface. A lot of times, contents, behaviors, feelings that were buried that I couldn't handle in a given moment, and now they surface and I get in touch with them. So I am better at not running away from the pain. I am better at not trying to get rid of the pain, but just letting it be. I have had experiences where I would be like in pain, that I'm like to the point that I'm driving to work, and then suddenly out of nowhere or out of somewhere inside me, the tears would just like run. And I remember those moments, and I remember appreciating, I'm like, look at this pain, look at, where it, and then become curious about it, and just like, and even not trying to think so much, but just let it be. And I think that when you, just like you, Dan, when you understand the role of pain, and when you understand that moment is actually a powerful moment that can be a step, propelling you upwards. You're grateful for that too. You're able to, even in times of pain and apparent scarcity and difficulties, to be grateful, because in that pain and suffering lie a tremendous potential and possibilities for a new self, for a new beginning, for new perspectives, and etc.
Yeah. When I look at this, I think gratitude for me is, I'm very grateful for Spiritism being this toolbox that really enables me, right, to make sense of life in a very different, perspective, right, than if I didn't have this toolbox ahead of me or at my disposal, right? So the question that I have for the panel, I'm going to call ourselves a panel now because we're fancy. Thanks, Daniel Santos, for the label there. So, can gratitude be inspiring for people to live better lives?
Yes. I think that it's great if gratitude is inspiring to others, but I think that gratitude is first and foremost inspiring to ourselves when we feel it, right? Because for me, having gratitude is recognizing that something from the outside has allowed or has given me something for which I am thankful, right? And at the same time, it's sort of a realization that could have not happened, right? I could have had it differently. So I am thankful that things are the way they are. So I think it's very inspiring. There is a beautiful passage from a Shakespeare piece, actually, that is not about gratitude, but it's about mercy. And I think that in a way it's kind of connected. And it, in this piece, the character, right, says, like, that mercy is twice blessed, right, by the person who gives and by the person who receives, right? So there's a blessing there's twice a blessing when that happens. I think gratitude is similar, right? When you are grateful, you are blessed in understanding that you have tons of things, but you're also blessed because something else from the outside has allowed you to have those conditions, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's inspiring for sure. But I find gratitude in others very inspiring, but I find it even more inspiring for myself when I realize that I should be grateful for something and it starts to pop up.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think the story that I was telling is an example of that. I was certainly inspired by these women's gratitudes, and and it's contagious. That's why I wanted to stay. I want to let me take advantage of this energy, and I also am able to notice that at times, your own energy, right, that comes from this state of gratitude is very given. It expands. It's just like, so a lot of times, in a work environment, for example, I feel that, when I am connected with this feeling, I bring into the relationships with my colleagues that might not be in a good place. I do think that, they are touched. I do think that it makes a difference on the environment that you are, the people that you were dealing with, because I don't know for you guys, but when I'm very in touch and very aware of this feeling, I usually feel like super happy. It's just like sometimes you don't fit within yourself because it's just so much appreciation, and sometimes sometimes it's more cognitive, sometimes it's more emotional. I don't know. I get out here where I live, and every morning I see the sun rising behind the trees, and it's so incredibly beautiful. And I immediately have that thought of gratitude for another day, and sometimes that's how I start my day, and I feel like deeply moved because it's like, oh my God, there's so much to life, God's presence, the nature. And so, but it's also an exercise, right? Because you can practice that just the way that love is something that we learn, and that it grows as we practice. I think that we can also practice gratitude by training, like you said, the glass half empty, half full, training our beings on looking and appreciating the small things. And sometimes it's just like I was mentioning before, you get a cold and you're miserable. And once the cold is over, you're grateful, you're appreciative for your health. So, learning to be grateful in without having to lose something to learn, right?
Yeah. And there's a physical piece to this too, right? I was reading this wonderful book that I thought it was really simple. It looked great, like Mindset by Carol Dweck, which I find it fascinating. And there was an, allusions, or there's mentions of the brain chemistry that takes place when we are in fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? When we got that adrenaline, right, that kind of focus us on the task at hand because we're feeling threatened or whatever it is. When that happens, we see less possibilities around us because we're focused on the here and now, right? However, when we are happy and we have like serotonin kicking in, right, we see, even numerically speaking, by the research that folks have done, we see more possibilities. We're able to stop focusing on the here and now, right, the fear, that's the threat that's in front of us, to think about more other things. So as we practice, right, and we're able to trigger that dopamine and that serotonin in our brains, we are also training our body to allow us to see more possibilities. And in doing so, we get better, right? And I think I love what you're saying about going outside, Susanna, and feeling things in the presence of God, because sometimes I marvel at the idea that most of the time we're so worried about our insecurities and about feeling small in the world that we're fighting our insecurities and we're just trying to seem really strong, right? But in those moments of gratitude, that smallness that we think of ourselves sometimes is beautiful. Like we feel that we are a small cog in the whole universe, and that's okay, as opposed to having to pretend that we're more than we are, right? So it's like an interesting piece how the connectivity to divinity takes place. But I want to ask actually my friend Flavio here, because I think one of the great qualities that Mr. Flavio has, that I know him for a while, is Flavio is always a really positive and happy guy, right? He's really happy-go-lucky, believe it or not. I know it's hard to imagine for those of you out, who are listening out now, with all the despairing comments that Flavio's always making about everything. But Flavio, so tell me, how is it for you? So what makes you grateful? How do you get to your gratefulness spot?
I think it's a realization that we're very small, when we look at the overall universe, and at the same time, right, we have so much, and that dichotomy of being so small, albeit having so much, makes me look at things and be grateful all the time. Grateful for challenges that may come up in my day-to-day life. Grateful for sometimes problems, for sometimes suffering, when suffering strikes, as Daniel said, right? At the end of the day, I try as much as possible not those things really put me down, because at the end of the day, right, I really trust the author of this novel, which is not a novel, it's more of a true story, right? Which is all of our lives. When you understand, based on spiritist ideals, that nothing happens by accident, that you're there for a reason, you're in the best place with the best people around you at the best possible time, that stays in your mind, not my mind at least, right? And that makes me be thankful, and at the same time, right, positive about the overall future or the outcome of things. Not necessarily 24 hours a day, otherwise I would have to go look for a psychiatrist, but most of the time, I'm very happy. I'm very positive, and I always look forward to the future ahead, right?
So what are the ideas that spiritism provides us? That, I would say that based on the beginning of our conversation, this time that we have been talking, we all have presented gratitude from a very optimistic, happy, and way. And people who may not be spiritists, right, or maybe just starting, they might wonder, like, what is it in spiritism that helps us to develop these feeling and state of gratitude?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a great question, Susanna. Yeah, Dan, you want to tackle that first, and then
Sure.
I'll add on later.
Sure. I think that for me, right, I can speak of my experience. I think that what the gift that Spiritism keeps giving me is the ability to understand myself and others, by definition, as immortal and ever evolving spirits, right? So the fact that we reincarnate many times and that we continue to develop brings me a lot of hope and a lot of certainty in my heart that things are going to be okay, because it reminds me that not only have I faced challenges in this lifetime, but I've also have faced challenges in previous lifetimes, and here I am. I have survived 100% of my bad days, right? And no matter how hard it could be, right, I've done it. I survived it before. I might not remember it, but I survived it. And then there's also this force, God, I call it God, right, which is guiding me through this process, and it's going in. And I think that the mediumship part of Spiritism, which I think is Spiritism's greatest gift to humanity, is the better understanding of mediumship, also reminds me on a constant basis that there is this other side of life, that we can talk to the spirits, so that we know that the spirits are us, right? The spirits are us without a physical body, right? And so it's a constant reminder that even if the worst thing that could happen to me today, and let's say that I'm really worried about my physical life, right? Even if I were to lose my physical life today, I wouldn't stop being who I am. And I find that a profound gift of love from God, to love me so much as to say, no matter what happens, you will never stop being, right? And that makes me extremely grateful. And then I start connecting the dots a little bit, and I think, not only do I have great people in this life who have helped me tremendously to see things better, like you guys, right? But our friendship is also going to go beyond this physical life. I hope, right?
Yeah.
Not to tire you guys out and still have you guys on the next ones to help me see things, right? And I am also reminded of those that I might not remember right now, but that I had in previous lives. So when I do the math on this thing, it just like the love and support that I have just keeps growing, right? And it really, really touches my heart deeply. And that's the moment when I say, like, I can zoom out a little bit and I can realize that the moment is bigger than the here and now, right? That everything that can happen to me right now, I will be able to handle it somehow, even if I don't like it, right? In the way I handle it, I'm going to be okay. And that brings me a lot of gratefulness. And when I start looking at my own self and I realize that I could be much better than I am, right? When you sit with yourself at night, or think about stuff and like, I wish I had done this, or, I let that get the best of me, and all of that. Even when all of that happens, I say, tomorrow I'm gonna do it again, right? I'm going to be okay. So Spiritism has helped me see that through reincarnation and through mediumship, and has helped me practice that. And that has changed my life in such a way that I don't know. I am struggling right now a little bit. And how do I see the world? Like, I feel like I cannot go back and see the world as I used to see it before, right? It's like, it's my like Paul of Tarsus moment, right? Like when you're changing and you realize that you can't, like, you're in the middle of the road, right? I've been thinking quite a bit about this because I'm writing about this. And all these things happen. You fall off your horse. You can't see anymore. You're confused. You're blind. Do you go back to where you were before? Do you go back to who you were, Jerusalem, so to speak? Or do you keep moving forward to Damascus, right? And I feel like there is no answer other than move forward. Like, I don't think I can
keep moving forward.
I don't think I can bring myself to go back, right? So long-winded question, but I hope that kind of shed some light on how I think about it. How about you, Mr. Flav?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about reincarnation. Also, the fact that this is not our only life, right? This is only one chapter of one of the seasons of our overall life, right? And I like the analogy of Netflix, multiple seasons and multiple episodes of our story, right? The story of Susanna Simone.
That's a long series, buddy.
The story of Dan and Sissy, right? It's a lot of chapters into many episodes of many chapters of many seasons of that. When you look at that, right, it gives us perspective into, yes, not only is there a long way ahead of us, right, but we've made so much progress already, right? When you look past, I'm pretty sure that this is at the best place that we are in our evolutionary journey, right? Because in the past, I don't want to know what I did before, right? What I want to know is what I can do now to change how I become for tomorrow. This is what Spiritism taught me that helps me tremendously, right? Every single day, despite all this stuff that's sometimes around me that I can really, fathom to understand. They don't make any sense. But then a week, a month, or a year later, I go, oh yeah, now I understood why that happened to me. Oh yeah, now I got why so and so said such and such, right? Oh, now again, I see Spiritism as this great toolbox that better enables me, right, to deal with my daily life, that really puts me in a very, I'm going to say privileged, but in a way that, in a very, positive position to look at things very positively, no matter what happens, right? And I think to me, that's how it resonates with my life. Yeah, Flavio, I get that. If somebody's going through a very difficult, I get this, right? But maybe during that particular time, you don't see the half full glass, but maybe wait a day or a week, right? You go back to see the full glass again. And once we get the mindset, right, it becomes part of our normal life. That's how, it is for me, at least. Right?
Sue, how would you answer your own question? What's your take?
Yeah, I think one of the, it's funny because, yes, I think the idea of reincarnation is a very powerful one. In Spiritism, it brings a lot of hope. It also makes me a little tired sometimes to imagine that. I confess. I confess. That being said, I think that I like very much the idea of thinking of that at a given moment, God thought of me and created me, you know, for something absolutely magnificent, which is, you know, plenitude, wholeness, happiness, and that is part of my journey. It's awaiting for me. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. So the idea that, you know, God thought of me, that I was created out of love, to learn to love and to be loved, gives me, you know, a lot of gratitude. It's very grateful to be alive. It's very grateful. I am very grateful to exist, and that, you know, at a given moment I was thought about and I was created, and, you know, for something that is big, and it's awaiting for me, and it's a matter of time. So I think this connection with, you know, this feeling and this meaning, you know, really nurtures this sense of gratitude within me.
Okay. I want to bring us back to maybe some of the scriptures. And I remember one of the Psalms. I can't remember the number. Says that mercy is when God remembers us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's merciful to maybe, you know, a situation that we're going through. But then gratitude, right, is when we remember God. And that stuck with me for, you know, that got stuck with me for many years after I read that psalm. But then I wanted to bring us to the point. Dan mentioned about mercy before, right? We're talking about gratitude. Should those two go hand in hand?
I think that they can. I think that they definitely have a connection between them. The question is where the mercy and the gratitude are coming from, right? Because I think that sometimes we can have gratitude or be grateful for the mercy that we have received. But at the same time, when we have, so they might kind of like a cycle, right? When we are grateful, it's easier for you to be more merciful as well, right? And understanding. So there's definitely a connection on that circle of love that Susanna was talking about, which I think is ever present, because what touched me about what Susanna was saying is that not only did God think of me at one point in time, but God and the good spirits are constantly thinking of me, right? Because along the way, I am receiving help, I'm receiving guidance, right? I'm always on the radar, right? We're always on the radar of the divine. And that is really flattering. So the mercy and gratefulness piece, I think that the mercy tends to be the act that comes from above, and the gratefulness is the recognition of that ever-going mercy. Because if we were only to get the benefits of love when we deserve it, we would be in dire straits, right?
Oh yeah.
So the mercy of God, like we're always getting more and ahead of what we want to prepare for things. I think that's the beauty of the Creator in general. So I think there's definitely a connection there. And I think gratitude is when we begin to kind of go outside of ourselves. There's a wonderful question in the Spirit's books. All of them are wonderful. It doesn't talk about gratitude, but it talks about ingratitude, right? It's question 973. And the reason I know is because I looked it up, people. I don't remember all the stuff out of my head. So I make sure you know, right? Because people are like, how do you remember all those questions? Like, I don't.
I know.
Some of them I do,
I just look them up.
but most of them I don't, right? And there is a connection again to the idea of ingratitude being one of the daughters of selfishness, right? Which I think brings us back to the point, like, I think that there is selfishness, I think there is self-centeredness, and I think there is altruism. I think there's three things, right? Like, imagine a line, right? Selfishness for me is when you do things on purpose, just whatever it is that you do to get what you want, right? The next step, when you get a little bit better, you get self-centered. Like, you're doing things for yourself, but you're not intent on harming others. You may not even notice that people are there, right? You're just like, you know, like a child. Like, sometimes you just don't know where your arms are moving, right? And then there's the altruistic piece when you realize that other people are there. And I feel like somewhere between self-centeredness and altruism lies gratitude, right? You begin to let me say that you begin to engage with gratitude and it becomes part of your practice, right? To realize that, oh my goodness, there's more than I, and things could have gone the other way, and I have so much, and I have all that I need. If I believe in God, I have to believe I have everything I need, right? I have everything I need to be what I need to be, to work on what I need to work on. I lack nothing, right? Even though I walk into the valley of death, like I shall
God
not
is my
want,
shepherd.
Right?
Yep.
Right. I lack nothing. I have everything I need. But to get to those moments is hard, because I feel in my current stage of evolution, I'm still trying to move away from self-centeredness. Right. I feel like I am made progress from selfishness to self-centeredness. I might be not, and I'm trying to kind of move forward. And I think all thing happens at once. It's not a perfect line, but I think mercy and gratitude have to do with that a bit. I think they're connected. What do you guys think?
I like what you said of mercy being something that comes, in our direction, and gratitude is almost like a response or a natural, natural consequence of that. So I don't know. I really like what you said. I thought you made a good connection between the two.
Yeah.
For once,
if I could answer my own question, I think oftentimes
no, you can't. Sorry.
No, come on.
Well, I'm gonna do anyways.
Let him do that.
I do believe that we have so much to be thankful for, including the quote unquote tough things that don't happen to us, right? Because to Dan's point, if we were gonna receive love solely based on the love that we've given before, right, we would be in dire straits.
Yeah.
So I think we still have to be very thankful and grateful for all the harm, all the bad things that did not happen to us, right? And oftentimes we forget that, right? So for us not to forget, we got the wrap up symbol here in our screen. So we got to do a wrap up. But before we do that,
we're wrapping up.
How should we close this? What will be the message for us to really bring us all together towards a much more grateful future ahead of us?
I think, I think we can talk about what we are grateful for, right? In closing up. So I am, it's a long list, right? What are you grateful
That's great.
for? It's a long list, but in the context of this conversation, right? I'm very grateful for my friends. I am grateful for it is, in the course of reincarnation, it's amazing how life brings us together. We grow up in different countries. We have lives that seem like so incredibly disconnected, and then suddenly life brings people together in many, many different ways. And it's just so amazing to see how many people come into our lives that add so much, and that, make life so much easier, and add color and add meaning. And so I think friendship is one of the things that I am particularly grateful for. And I must say that I don't say that, enough, that I should actually say that more often to all my friends out there, all the people who I call friends. So I'll take this final moment for myself to say thank you to Flavio and Dan for being my friends, for our partnership, for walking with me, for sharing, and for having me in your lives.
Wow.
Yeah, we're thankful. I'll go next, and then I'll let Flavio close us off. That's beautiful. So thank you. I am also very much grateful for you guys. I love what you said about recognizing friends and the role that they have in the walk that we're all doing towards betterment and happiness. So I won't go too much in that, but my feelings are there too. I also want to say I am grateful for the ability to begin to understand why things are the way they are, from a spiritual perspective, to be able to start to make sense of the world and why sometimes it may seem contradictory, right? Why sometimes the world can seem so beautiful in many ways and so ugly in other ways. And I think that when I began to understand the spiritual piece, it has helped me reconcile those two things. And I'm so grateful for that, because it has put my heart at ease to know that everything is going to be okay because there is a God. So I'm very grateful for that understanding that for me came through Spiritism on my way to understanding, the message of God and love that I see reflected in the Christ. I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for having the challenges. More and more, I'm thinking about how grateful I am to have my problems. I wouldn't want anybody else's problems, because I have been trained and prepared to tackle my own problems, right? Like, if you think about it, like, we are here in this incarnation to tackle problems and grow, right? Every time that I get like a little frustrated with my problems, I say, you have come here to solve problems. You have not come here on vacation, right? Vacation is not now. So I'm really thankful for that. And I'm thankful to have the chance to talk about these things and exercise that awareness, right? Doing that with you guys here right now helps me quite a bit, because it's only through practice. And I think that's what Susanna said. That was really, really great, that it will be the last takeaway. Gratitude and happiness can be practiced. And I'm grateful for that.
Wow, that's powerful, Dan. Thank you for sharing that, right? And if I could add, it's very difficult to add after these great messages, but very thankful for the opportunity to spend some time with you guys virtually in yet another Spiritist Conversations, right? We have a lot of fun doing this. I hope we do the same. But if I reflect back on, my current situation, right? I'm very thankful for Spiritism. That really becomes, or really is, that toolbox, right? That powerful toolbox that has very different tools for very different moments in my life. So I'm very thankful for my life, where I am right now, right? For all of my friends and all of them, right? Those that are living with me, those that are distant, those that are in different lives, past lives, right? Very thankful for my parents, who went through a lot of difficulties so that I could be what I am today. So I'm very thankful for them. Thankful for my own courage of really tackling some life challenges, my physical strength, my body, my heart that keeps beating, right? My senses, that I have all of them, right? In this life, I have all of them. I'm very thankful for that. Thankful for the things that I love, right? Things that I see and I every day, right? For my belongings. I'm also thankful for my tears, because afterwards they taught me a lot of things. I am thankful for my mistakes, some of the pain that, Dan Santos mentioned that. I'm thankful for all these life lessons that make me a better person down the road. And if I look back, right, I'm very thankful for the mentors that I've had throughout my life that enabled me to be a better person every moment, right? That I quote unquote graduated towards a new person, towards becoming a new Flavio, a new person, right? I'm very thankful for, of course, my job, my teachers that made a difference in my life, some of the heartbreaks, some of the laughters that, are part of my, normal being, right? Again, I'm very thankful for my, beloved sister who's been there for me throughout my existence, my beloved wife, my daughters, my family. Thankful for the sun, the trees, the privilege that I have. Some of them are not earned, but I still reap the benefits of having them, right? Thankful for my choices. Thankful for air conditioning, because it's 96 degrees here in Massachusetts, right? We have a lot to be thankful for, right? And that's what I want to close this with. We have a lot to be thankful for. This is a very small list of the things that we should be thankful. And if you are thankful for yet another Spiritist Conversations, do us a favor, right? Like our channels, share that with your friends. And if you believe this will be helpful for somebody else that needs to maybe hear some of the jokes, some of these conversations, by all means, share the links away. Would love to for this message to go beyond and really touch some of those hearts that may need to hear some of these messages right in the near future. Very thankful for the opportunity. And once again, my dear esteemed friends, I love you. I care a lot about you. I hope to be, with you in person after coronavirus goes away, to be able to hug you and embrace you. Thank you so much, guys.
Well said,
Thank you, guys.
Flavio. Well said. And we're very thankful for you watching this. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. These conversations are really meant to include you as well. We hope that you feel part and know from the bottom of our heart that we truly appreciate you taking some time off your days, of your lives to join the conversations. And we invite you to be part of our conversation, to be part of what we're thinking about, what we're going to talk about next. Let us know. We are really grateful for all that you do and that you have spent the time with us. And we look forward to having you in the near future as well. So we should wrap it up. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.